All right, welcome back. More Pixel 8 Pro testing here. A very busy time for us now. We benchmarked the Pixel 8 Pro. This is the white Pixel 8 Pro. Do have the blue as well. This is the 128 gig. This is the 256 in blue. I did benchmark the white one. Now, there was some confusion on release day and a day or two after release. I think it's day 4. The Geekbench app was not available on on these new Pixel 8 series on launch day, which is weird because I like to look. I know that benchmarks are not everything, but it's still interesting to take a look at, right? You still want to see what the numbers are, but it's not like if the numbers don't add up to what you think it should be, it's not like, oh man, the phone sucks or the CPU sucks. No, that's not how phones work, especially not this phone. But I do always benchmark every phone I test just to look at the numbers, right? So the benchmarking apps were not available on the Pixel 8 phones on launch day, and actually day 2 or day 3. I take that back. I think day 3 was yesterday, so last night they became available. So on day 3, I tried to go download it and said this app is not available for your device. And I was checking it every day, and it worked last night. So went ahead and downloaded it and ran some tests on it. So it's interesting to see. This is the Pixel 8 Pro, 12 gigs of RAM, DDR5 RAM, with 128 gigs of storage. Yeah, 12 and 128. So let's look at the scores. Here are the scores. So I ran a CPU benchmark, and I also ran a GPU benchmark. Now there's two GPU benchmarks. There's an damn it, what is it called? I don't know, lose my brain. OpenGL, and then there's a Vulkan GPU test. So let's look at the CPU. Damn it. CPU test. It scored. Now this was with it was updated. Every app that's on here, which is just stock apps minus 1 or 2 Play Store apps. My apps and data are not on this device. I'm using this strictly for testing. So this device, the software was updated to date, and all the apps were updated to date. So this is the very best that we can offer on this test. There are no apps running in the background. I restarted the phone right before I did the test, so everything was fresh. And let's see, it scored on single core 1777 and multi-core 4417. So when you look at those, you're like, huh, those numbers are interesting. Let's see. And it'll give you some information here, but what's also interesting is to look at where it lines up with other devices. Now, it'll give you the device information and how many cores it's running, the CPU, the architecture, the internal name for the device, but it gives you a breakdown of the score. So you can go in here, and if you're interested in these numbers, I'll just slowly scroll through them. So if you're interested, you can pause it and then take a look for yourself. I'm not going to go over every single one. I made that mistake last year with the 7 Pro, and the video was just way too long. So if you see something, simply pause it, and then you can check out these numbers. But I'll just lightly go over them. Now, let's see. Let's go to single score. Here we go. So this is where it compares it to other devices that's in the database for Geekbench. Now, check this out. It actually hung the Tensor G3, which is the new CPU by Google. Actually, let me turn this light off from the S23 Ultra. There we go. It actually hung in there quite well with the S23 Ultra and the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, the special Snapdragon. Let's blast the display. It hung in there fairly well with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, the custom Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, overclocked specifically for Galaxy and Samsung. As you can tell, It's just what 5-10% less than the 8 Gen 2. Now I'm not going to compare this to Apple and their Bionic chips because those blow everything away. This is basically going to be strictly Android devices running Snapdragon processors, basically. But as you can tell, and how it's optimized and overclocked and all that stuff will get you these scores. But as you can tell, the top performing Android devices are the Samsung Galaxy S series, S23 series. You got the Ultra, the Plus, and the regular S23. Now it looks like it would fit in. The next closest on the list is Xiaomi. 13, Galaxy Z Fold 4. And interesting, there's where the last year's model was at. Pixel 7 Pro, 1404, and this year we scored 1777. So a decent performance a boost, nothing shocking or OMG type stuff like the new Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is supposed to be 80% faster than the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. That's an OMG. This is not one of them. This is a subtle performance bump. But let's look at the multi-core. Now, this is single core. Remember, single core, one processor. The main unit they test, the main core. And this is the 3 gigahertz main core on here. And multi-core, it lagged behind. There's a bigger jump in multi-core. That just, it depends on how you set up these cores and these processors for each device. Now, this is not supposed to be the fastest performing device out there. They're not trying to win any 0 to 60 competitions. They're not out here trying to win drag races. This is about the device in a whole, pixel in a whole, the AI, the machine learning. They're more geared towards machine learning. Now, if you buy this device, what if you buy this device and you're a big gamer? I think you can do that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the S23 Ultra is a better device to have if you are a gamer. But you should be able to get away with it if you are a average gamer. If you're an intensive gamer that runs super, super intense games, graphic intensive games, I would get the S23 Ultra. However, this device looks like it can hold its own when it comes to graphic intensive games. It's just not the absolute best, but it's not shabby, and I've never had any hiccups. I don't game at all. I haven't had a game on my phone in years. So I don't care about that stuff. Again, I don't really care about this. I'm just putting the information out there so you can have it. Take what you will with it. Xiaomi got a phenomenal multi-core score. As you can tell, the S23 Ultra S series are just behind it, and then the Z Fold 4 that had the 8 Plus Gen 1. So this processor looks like it's pegged just right under the 8 Gen 2 and with multi-core and single core. So not a shabby processor. It's still plenty fast, very, very snappy. I've said in the past, my Pixel 7 Pro was the fastest, smoothest phone I've ever had in my life. Even more so than the OnePlus phones from yesterday. Like the OnePlus 7 Pro, even the 7T was super fast. It was just buttery smooth. And again, that goes to show you don't have to have the most top performing CPU or benchmark scores. Let's see multi-score, we got that. Let's go to the GPU. So the CPU and GPU, look, if we're going to relate them to cars, right? CPU is like horsepower, right? And the GPU is like torque. The CPU is good for high performance top speed. The torque GPU is good for getting up and going, basically. And it directly correlates with phone processors, in my opinion. Let me turn the screen timeout up because it's bothering me. Screw it. Okay. I always say, I'll turn it back to 30 seconds, and then I always forget. So let's go back to, here we go. Let's go to GPU. Now let's check out can't remember which one is which. I did the Vulkan just right now in the open GL yesterday. So the OpenGL would be this one. Let's see what the Vulkan is, since I got a better score. So this is the Vulkan GPU benchmark. And a basic, and that's updated to the most current model version. Gives you basic stats just like the CPU did. Now, a little different because you can tell it's a very short list. The CPU performance list went way down here, so you can get a good snapshot of that. Let's see. It's got the Mali G715. See, that's the one core. That's the high performance core. The single core, they'll test that one. Multi-core, they test all of them together. Let's see what we score. So, wow, look at that. Wow. That's, I didn't, and honestly, I didn't really look at these last night. I was running the test, doing something else, and kind of forgot about it. So this is the first time I'm really analyzing the scores. But, yo, isn't that weird? Look, the Pixel 8 Pro got a score of 5788, but look, the Pixel 6a and 6 with the OG Tensor chip, Google Tensor chip 1, first gen. We're on Gen 3. This is Gen 3. The Pixel with the Gen 1 beat the score of this Gen 3. Wow. Now, just off the top of my head, I guess why that is because Google's falling back on machine learning and not trying to have the highest performing phone. Now, there was a report, I did hear somebody say, I can't remember where I read it or heard it. Somebody said their Pixel 7 Pro ran better performance with like Genshin Impact, some high graphic intensive game. It'll show you stats while you're playing the game. It'll show you stats up on the top right or top left or wherever. It actually performed better on the older phone. Now, that's because Google has fine-tuned this processor not to be a gaming phone, but to be a machine learning AI phone. So that's my, I guess, explanation. Now, I don't have any inside information, but you can put two and two together. Why would that be? Now, the processor doesn't suck. This GPU they have inside the Mali G715 is a badass GPU. It's basically in all the flagship Android devices, but they didn't tune it for performance. They tuned it for machine learning. That's why I went back and said a few minutes ago, if you are a big-time gamer and or concerned about gaming, just get the S23 Ultra. That's a badass phone, and you're not going to have any issues with it. Now, I don't know why it scored a 4721 when this one has a older processor. This has the S23 Ultra has a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. That's got an 8 plus Gen 1. That's a 6-month older processor. I have no idea how it scored, almost double, right? I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. But these are the scores. This is the Vulkan test for you here. Looks like, wow, the Note 20 Ultra. Interesting scores. Okay. That's a super, I don't know how they got that. Okay. So that was Vulkan. Let's go back and let's see the OpenGL score. I did not look at this. 5139. I think that's a decent score. Now, the difference between the two is they test different graphics and focus on a couple different things on each GPU test between Vulkan and OpenGL. I don't know which one's more accurate. I think it depends on what you use your device for. Let's see where it stacked up. Damn. Okay. That's what I was saying. This OpenGL is, I think, in my opinion, is more accurate. Now, I think that's for more daily use stuff, possibly. Maybe Vulkan's more for gaming. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. But these scores are interesting. So the S23 Ultra blew away the Pixel 8 Pro. Look at that. With a score of 5139, and the S23 Ultra scored 8807. That's why I said this S23 Ultra. I'm not a gamer. I have downloaded. What was it? Oh, that wasn't on the S23 Ultra. Never mind. Forget I said that. Let's see. 6 and 6A. So what did this score? 5139. Check this out. Remember this. 5139. Let's see where the next closest pixel is. Pixel 6. They're 6397 and 5885. See the discrepancies on this Z Fold 4 got 5306 on the this is the OpenGL GPU benchmark. On the Vulkan GPU benchmark, this Galaxy Z Fold 4 was the highest performing device on the Vulkan test. And now look how far this one is down on the list. So each one tests different discrepancies and runs it through different sets of testing. They're not the same test. So that's what I'm saying. And I do apologize. I should have done more research on Vulkan and OpenGL to see specifically what they test. But you can, Google that and find out. But these are the numbers. These are the scores. This is the raw data, the raw information right here. Pretty interesting. So they got blown away in GPU performance because they're not tuning it for gaming. They're tuning it for machine learning and AI and learning you. This single core CPU benchmark did pretty well in my opinion, and that's what most people again, that's what's the horsepower. That's what most people are going to be leaning on when it comes to using these devices. Let me go back to that because I think that's more important than I think that's more important score than the GPU score, because Google clearly is not concerned about gaming on this phone. I mean, like I said, I'm sure it'll handle everything fine. Obviously, I'm just saying that they're not trying to wow people with their GPU scores. So let's go back to this. I just want to double check and see where it lands with other devices. Okay, all right, so that makes sense. Because again, this phone is buttery smooth, super fast, smooth, no hiccups, no issues. And look, it's right up there with the S23 Ultra. And this is, again, a more accurate test in my opinion. Daily activities. If you got a bunch of apps, this has 12 gigs of RAM. So you can keep a ton of apps open in the background without them shutting down. You can fly through your recent apps and recent history, perfectly. So, all right. Well, this, looking back at this makes more sense. I feel more comfortable with this score, the CPU benchmark. Let me see where the multi-core score is. Not that shabby. I mean, it's a little bit behind, but their single core, that high performance core that they have running this device looks pretty freaking good. As you can tell, it's on par with the best of the Androids. So and it's better than last generation. So very good and very interesting information. I do appreciate the time. We will continue to run testing on this device. We got case reviews. I got a ton of case reviews for this device and for the white one and for the blue one. As you can tell, got it right here. So I do appreciate the time. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to continue to knock these out. Very busy day today. So again, I really appreciate your time viewing the channel. It means a lot to me. I do put a lot of work in here with this channel and other stuff. So I do thank you. So have a good weekend. Thank you for viewing. If you have any questions whatsoever, just hit me up in the comments. I also have an email address in the description box, so I'll put a link in the description for this app. It'll go directly to the Play Store. It's not some janky third-party download. Oh, you know what reminds me? I tried to sideload APKs on this new Pixel, like sideloading apps outside of the Play Store, and it's blocked. Never had that happen before, so I think it's something in Android 14. I can still do it on my S23 Ultra. Download and sideload APKs or Android apps fine on the S23 Ultra, but that's on Android 13. So we'll have to wait and see once the S23 Ultra updates to Android 14. We'll still have to see if it's possible. But as of now, you cannot sideload apps on this, which kind of pisses me off. I may look into that a little more. There's only a handful of apps that I do sideload, but I depend on a few apps heavily. So that's maybe an issue, but I'll see if there's a workaround for it and make a video about it, or make a video for it so it can help anybody else out there. But yeah, so very nice phone so far. I'll have to see how I can find a workaround for that APK stuff. So have a good rest of the weekend. Appreciate it. Peace out.